Hey guys, this is going to be kind of a little bit of a devlog about XR Interaction Toolkit. This is not so much a tutorial video as just a devlog on where I'm at. I've decided to start building a project out in XR Interaction Toolkit just to see how far I could get with the knowledge that I've gained in my head over the past several years. So I said, hey, let's just start with the hardest stuff. XR Interaction Toolkit. Basic scene. Yeah, I'm not doing any of the locomotion or anything like that, but why code all that stuff? And someone would be like, well, it's still a framework. Yeah, but it's missing a whole lot of stuff. Like, it doesn't have any guns. It doesn't have all that stuff. It doesn't have full body IK. It doesn't have a hand poser. None of that stuff. So I wanted to see what I could build just with the knowledge in my head. So it said, hey, well, let's start with full body IK. So this is where I'm at. And those for you that are hoping for code, I'm not sharing any of this code at the moment. I may later in life. Um, First thing I wanted to figure out before I even started with the animation was hand animation. I wanted complete separation from the animator because of the fighting it does with leg animation. So once I had that, I started working on the body movement and stuff. Now, one beef I've got with IK, pretty much all of them. Final IK does a really good job. This is no competition for Final IK. Final IK is still king. It uses custom solvers, uses root motion. It's not going to beat that. But one thing I did want to happen was this. If I look to my right when I'm standing still, I want to be able to look down and see my shoulders, right? Right now my body is just moving back and forth with my head. So, find my body. Right now I've got it set to continuous body rotation. If I set it to that, what it's going to allow me to do is look right and see my shoulder. So when I look down at my legs, I feel like they're correct. And I can never look at my back. Once I go so far, it starts to turn. To give me arms that feel correct. I didn't want short arms. Meta even has that problem. You feel like your arms are really short. And then obviously I've got arm stretch and all that stuff. So after that, I needed to figure out hand posing. And I started with the full body, but I was like, well, let me simplify my life. So I went back to just regular hands. So let me enable those. And I've created hand posing system for this, which isn't finished yet, but it could be used in production right now. So here's my hands. And the thing about these is they don't use an animator. I want to stay away from that because I want this to be working with full body and hands. So what I've got is if I grab, I've only got two objects set up here. I have hand posing, which just has a mediocre weird hand pose on it that I was just using for testing, and this one has a closed fist hand pose to it for switching. And then if I grab the other one, the other candy cane, if I'm not looking in my headset, there we go. These are both closed hand poses. So what I've set up with that, with my work in the previous year or so, building tools in Unity to make my life easier and getting more handle on like editor tools and things like that. If I come down to my blaster and I come down to my right attachment, you see I have a hand pose attachment point. All this does is it holds what it is, the primary, the secondary, which is the way XR Interaction Toolkit has its primary and its secondary on its interactable, if you will. It has the hand pose that I want to assign to it, my test ship pose, if you will. and the valid hand. Is it right or is it the left hand? Now I have a hand pose recorder. So if I come over here, I can spawn a preview, and then I can do my pose, right? So if I come over here and I take my index and I just, you know, let's set the local, do my pose. Let's take my middle finger and we'll stick it up like a middle finger, you know, and then, I don't know, my ring, I'll just take that in, you know, thumb, where you thumb, just raise that up in the air. Okay, so if I come back to my root, here, oh, it's my preview data. I come back to my attachment point, sorry, you'll see that it has my hand pose recorder. So basically this auto assigned all of my transforms, and it got it from my clone, which is holding the transforms of the clone. So when I spawn the clone, it attached it to my hand pose recorder, so it knows what those are. Now if I hit save pose, it's going to ask me where I want to save it at, and then I can go to where do I have that at? We'll just save it here. So we'll say test video pose. Once I save it, if it has a hand pose attachment point, it'll automatically assign it. So now if I hit that again, it gets rid of the preview. Now if I hit play, see it has my new pose. So really just been working on what works for me, really. After I get all those tools finished in XR Action Toolkit, then I'll probably start building things like weapons and things like that, and different things in here, just to reacquaint myself with it further, keeping up with updates. Yeah. I want to point out on this, I've actually, for my spawn prefab, I made it to where it's pretty easy to use additional prefabs. This is just a model, which is just a copy of my hand. So once I set my hand up, I just pulled it in, put my script on there, assign the transforms, and then I just assign it there. So if I had a custom hand, it would be pretty easy to use that as a preview. So if I bought like a pack or whatever and I set it up, if I had like, you know, a furry hand or whatever, I would just assign it there and that would be my preview. But this also works with full body. You can I'm gonna probably set this up to try to auto assign this, but you can use this on full body without a hand preview, and then just assign your transforms and do it like you normally would. I'm trying to figure out a viable way on to where I can actually spawn the body in the right spot, and then you could actually do the hand with the full body. But not a game changer for me, just because it's what I'm used to. But that's kind of where I'm at. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.